presented by Ford, creator of a new kind of Ford for 57, and the Ford dealers of your community, who tonight bring you Ray MILLAND in Catch It Strong with Kerwin Matthews and Virginia Gibson.
Why didn't you get on it, Fred? I'd have gone with you.
I've had my fill of running, Carol.
Any place but Danton. Why make you stand here?
Where else? I was born in this town.
The insults, the rotten things they say.
Someday they'll get their teeth out of me.
It isn't worth it.
I'm sure it is for me. I've got to make up for what I've done. But you, Carol, there's only a blank wall for you.
All right, Carol, you better go.
Better stay. Carol, please go.
Come on, Dad, let's go over there. Take him, Bill. Thanks, Dad.
Now you get out of town. We're not telling you again. What are you waiting for? Come on. I never saw a guy beat up like that before. Come on!
Oh, hello, Jed. Nice to see you. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is a question.
Yeah?
What are you going to do about the Carnes matter?
Carnes matter.
We're due in court at 10 o'clock, Mr. Sloan.
Thank you.
You still haven't answered my question. Fred Carnes, what are you going to do about it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's the answer I wanted to hear.
What do you suppose our esteemed newspaper man is driving at?
Fred Carnes was beaten up last night. It's all over town. He's in the hospital.
It's funny, it wasn't in the police report. Lieutenant Morris, please. District Attorney Peter Sloan calling. Hello, Ben? Fine, fine. You? Good. Say, Ben, everybody seems to know something I don't. What goes with Fred Carnes?
Well, last night about 10, a call came in, a girl. She said a gang was beating up Carnes. I found him by the track, took him to the hospital.
I didn't get a report.
I didn't think there was any rush. He'll recover.
But, Ben, we can't let things like this happen.
How are we going to stop it? The boy won't leave town. I'll talk to him again. Call you later.
Who did this to you? I want you to file a complaint against the men who did this to you.
I don't know who did it.
At least have the decency not to lie.
Since when am I supposed to have any decency?
Who was the girl who telephoned the police?
Why don't you give up?
That's not what the government pays me for.
I've had my belly full of people like you. If you don't mind, beat it.
Come in.
Well, what happened at the hospital?
The way I felt when I left, if he didn't care about it, neither would I.
Good.
But in court this morning during recess, the subject came up again. The general attitude was, forget it. He deserved it, why worry about it? But it's funny, Ben. The arsonist I was prosecuting had violated the law. Everybody felt he should have the book thrown at him.
Well, naturally.
Then why is it natural for everybody to feel that whoever down here killed Fred Carnes shouldn't get the same treatment?
Carnes is a rat.
Look, don't misunderstand me, Ben. Every nerve in my body rebels at what he did in Korea. But I'm against people taking the law in their own hands. And besides, he was acquitted by military court.
Look, Pete, we both have families, nice homes. I like my job, you like yours. Let's not open a can of peas. All we have to do is just close our eyes this once.
The trouble with that method is it gets to be habit forming.
And the whole town will be against you.
So it'll be against me.
Where you going?
To open a can of peas.
I don't care what you say, Mr. Sloan. I think Fred got what was coming to him.
What kind of a father are you? To be happy your son was beat up so bad he can't walk.
Mrs. Carnes, I was hoping you could get Fred to cooperate with us.
Fred stopped listening to us years ago.
Well, there was a girl with him last night.
I knew that'd start up again.
Shut up.
He was always reaching. Never satisfied with what he had. Should have known a girl like Carol Corby was out of his class. Well, maybe he knows now.
I said shut up.
Why should I shut up? Didn't he disgrace us enough? What good will it do? I've had my belly full of that kid. What do you think I am, anyway, a nursemaid?
Hello, Sloan. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
You know my children, Carol, Bill.
How are you?
Carol, some coffee for Mr. Sloan. Grab a chair. Sit down, make yourself at home.
You. I didn't mean to disturb your lunch.
Oh, forget it. What's on your mind?
I really came to see Carol. You heard what happened to Fred Carnes last night?
The guys that did it should get a medal.
What's it got to do with Carol?
Well, apparently there was a girl with him, and she telephoned the police.
I think it was Carol. You got the wrong girl. Besides, Carnes is a name we don't mention around here.
We got rid of that mistake a long time ago, didn't we, Carol?
Don't you always get rid of what you don't want, Father?
I always try to do what's right for my children.
I'm sorry. About your question, Mr. Sloan, I'm sure the answer is obvious.
Don't get me wrong. It's not because this Carnes kid comes from the wrong side of the tracks. But would you like your daughter to go out with a traitor?
No, I suppose not. I won't get in the car.
Look, sis.
You disgust me.
Later on, you'll thank me.
I wish I'd told him.
The crummy turncoat means more to you than your own family. Well, here's your chance to prove it.
You killed Dad.
Last night, about 100 yards down from the crossing where you were on duty, a boy was beaten up. Did you hear anything?
Well, what time might that have been?
About 10 o'clock.
Had a lot of freight activity last night. The Limited was 3 minutes late. Came tearing through at 10:12. The racket it made, a soul screaming its way to perdition, couldn't have been heard.
And the gates would have been down. Were there any cars parked on the other side waiting to get back to town?
I can't remember for sure. No, the gates came down on an empty road. Oh, but now that you mention it, there was something about last night. Or was it the night before? No, it was last night. I remember now. But that wouldn't be nothing for you. Just that darn fool, Eddie Glynn.
Tell me about it.
Well, about 5 minutes after the Limited came through, that crazy Glynn came flying across in that car of his. Does it all the time. The reason it stuck to my mind was it seemed he came through a lot faster than usual.
Anybody in the car with him?
As a matter of fact, there was. 2 other fellas, it seems to me. But I couldn't tell you who they were. Hard to recognize them. He was barreling through so fast.
Well, thanks very much, Mr. McCabe. You've been very helpful.
Glad to oblige any time.
Thank you.
Sure, I knew Fred Carnes in school. We were on all the teams together. In football, I ran interference for him. In baseball, I was behind the plate, he was on the mound. I did all the work, he got all the glory.
You didn't like each other, huh?
He liked me. I never liked him. I guess I should have been over there in the prison camp with him. I could have run interference there for him, too.
Where were you last night?
Where was I last night? I was at the Rosedale Dance Hall all night, practically.
You can prove it?
Sure I can. Bill Corby and Tom Brooks were with me.
You're positive about that?
What do you want, an affidavit?
I might at that.
I don't know what it is you want to see me about, Mr. Sloan, but whatever it is, I wish you'd get it over with. We're having inventory at the store, and Mother is waiting for me.
You spend a lot of time in your mother's store?
I work there, if that's what you mean.
How about last night?
We close at 6.
But after 6, stay till about 11. You with Eddie Glynn and Bill Corby?
That's right, at the Rosedale Dance Hall.
Except for a few minutes of sport kicking the daylights out of Fred Carnes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You left the dance hall in time to get down the railroad tracks at 10 o'clock, didn't you?
You're the district attorney. You tell me.
I just did.
You're entitled to your opinion. But can you prove it?
I intend to try.
All right, do that. Anything else?
You know, it'd be a lot easier for everybody concerned if you'd just cooperate.
I wish I could help you, Mr. Sloan, but I'm afraid you've got the wrong party.
All right, you can go.
Good evening. I'm Steve Dunn. And tonight we're going to preview the new glamour car of the automotive industry, the 1957 Ford. And here with us to introduce this new kind of Ford is Tennessee Ernie Ford.
Thank you, Steve. You know, I've been hounding Steve all day long to do this. I'm really excited about these new 57 Fords. I couldn't wait for tomorrow night when my new show begins. I wanted to be the first to introduce them right here and now. So let's meet the new kind of Ford for 57. So how's that for an eye full of pretty cars? This is the new Fairlane 500 Town Victoria. Look at those lines. Steve, give me those statistical facts once again, will you?
Well, Ernie, it's the longest, lowest, largest car ever offered in the low-price field.
Bigger than lots of those medium-priced cars, too, Steve. And new? Well, if you had X-ray vision, you'd see a chassis under here like you've never seen before. It gives it that long, low, raring-to-go look. And more room inside, too. Oh, you're pretty. And you know something? For 57, Ford is the only low-priced car to come in 2 different sizes. The Fairlane and Fairlane 500 models measure over 17 feet long. That's longer than any other low-priced car. And the Custom and Custom 300 models, like this big 4-door sedan, they're over 16 feet long.
But you haven't seen anything yet.
Fellas, could we please take a look at Ford's new country sedan? Thank you. Folks out my way are buying station wagons more and more of them are buying Fords. This 9-passenger country sedan is just one of 5 Ford's offering this year. All just as pretty as this. Hey, Steve, time for dessert?
All set, Ernie.
Looky there. Pretty? That's the newest version of the Ford Sunliner, most popular convertible ever invented.
And as for power, the 57 Ford has already proved itself with record-breaking performances at Bonneville and Indianapolis.
Go ahead, you're doing fine.
And these 57 Fords give you the widest choice of engines in the field, from the 6 to this special Thunderbird V8.
Twist its tail, Steve. Hear that cat purr? You want to hear more, step in and see your Ford dealer. And say, don't forget to watch your Uncle Ern on his new Ford show tomorrow night. Special guest, Miss Greer Garson, on another network.
Again? The girl with you the other night was Carol Corby.
There was no girl with me.
You were beaten up by Tom Brooks, Eddie Glynn, and Bill Corby.
Loaded with little tidbits today.
I've got a complaint here all filled out. I want you to sign it.
Don't you figure enough people hate me already?
Do you think they'll like you any better for taking this lying down? Do you think they'll understand why you're refusing to sign this complaint?
No. They didn't understand how a guy could be brainwashed into thinking that commies had something decent to offer. They didn't understand that I came back so I could shout out my mistake to any other sucker ready to fall for the same bull. So I made a mistake. I didn't cost anybody his life. I didn't betray any of my buddies. The only one I knifed was myself. And I've been paying for it ever since. The government didn't convict me of any crimes, but this town has. They lynched me without ropes.
You can't blame a whole town for what 3 punks have done.
I never would have come back if it hadn't been for...
Carol Colby, a coward doesn't rate respect or love. If you want decent things, you've got to help fight for them. It's a two-way street.
American dream.
Look, you say your justification for coming back was to warn others of the trap of false prophets and phony promises. Okay, so they didn't buy it. You know what I think? I think you're actually glad you were beaten up. Now you can crawl back into your shell and say you were right all the time. The world stinks on both sides of the water. The world stinks when people like you let it stink. And let me tell you something else. You talk a lot about principles. Yet the moment they start putting on the pressure, you run for cover.
It's easy for you to talk.
Is it? Well, let's get one thing straight. I'm sticking my neck out a mile. Not for you, buddy, but because I'm willing to fight for the principles I believe in. If you don't sign this complaint, then you're just the gutless wonder everybody's been saying you are.
I'll sign it. On condition. You keep Carol out of this.
You're making it tough. But all right, we'll keep her out of it. Right there. How are you, honey?
You look like this was one of those days.
Now you can say that again. Where's Joey?
He's asleep. Had a rough day at school. Kids can be pretty cruel, you know.
What do you mean?
Calling him a commie lover, a turncoat, a traitor. Poor kid couldn't eat any dinner. I stayed with him while he cried himself to sleep.
How can parents fill their kids' heads with such garbage?
It's easy when your bread and butter's at stake. You know, Corby said if his son's brought to trial, he'll move the factory to another town.
I heard the rumor.
Did you also hear the rumor that there's a mass meeting tonight? A Get Peter Sloan meeting?
Don't worry about it, honey. It's just talk.
Yes? Pete, a mob tried to tar and feather Fred Carnes. They've got him in jail for his own protection. We better get down there fast.
I'll be right down.
Way to switch, huh, Mr. Sloan? I'm the victim and I end up in the cell.
Kind of makes you the defense attorney instead of the prosecutor, doesn't it, Pete?
What set the mob off, Ben?
Well, Corby addressed the mass meeting, and suddenly a nice, orderly crowd saw empty cupboards and bankrupt businesses. They got steamed up and became a mob. I got the Fred ahead of them.
After me, it'll be you, Mr. Sloan. Why bust up your life? I'll leave town. Let them think you got me to drop the charges.
Only if you lost your nerve.
I gave up being scared a long time ago.
All right, Fred. I'll see you at the trial.
Look, you know the mood of the people. Fred Carnes was almost lynched tonight. We've got to calm the temper of the town.
And the way to do that is by forgetting this trial.
Then we might as well abdicate as Americans.
Look, Sloan, the union I represent is not interested in highbrow philosophy. This is a one-industry town. If Corby moves his plant away, then nobody comes home with a paycheck.
We can't let any individual dictate to the courts.
And we can't afford your idealism. Now, somebody else talk to him.
Look, the wire services, the national magazines have been nosing around. They're smelling out a story. So far, I've been able to stall them off. But if this trial takes place, they'll be on us like a swarm of locusts. This kind of publicity never did any town any good.
The voice of the free press.
Don't be cute, Pete. I was only thinking...
You're only thinking of advertising and circulation. That and nothing else. Good night, gentlemen.
And it seems hardly necessary for me to point out what is common knowledge to the people of this town. That the 3 boys accused of this alleged crime are fine, upstanding members of this community. While the plaintiff, the accuser, is an acknowledged turncoat. A man who, when given a choice, chose another country.
The prosecution wishes to make one point very clear at the outset. My purpose in being here is not to defend Fred Kahn's action in Korea, actions which I personally deplore. Nor is it my purpose to defend or rationalize his reasons for returning home. That is up to the members of this community to accept or reject as they see fit. The prosecution is interested solely in the processes of law and order as they apply to each and every one of us, regardless of past or future. It is my firm belief, ladies and gentlemen, that when the machinery of democracy and justice becomes seriously threatened, then we shall start spending many a sleepless night. I understand, Mr. Glynn, that you were quite an athlete in school.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that you felt Fred Carnes always took the spotlight away from you, that you harbored a deep resentment?
Objection.
I'm pursuing this line of questioning, Your Honor, in order to establish motive.
I suggest that the prosecutor devote himself to establishing the fact that the witness was at the scene of the crime if it was a crime before he tries to establish motive.
Sustained.
Let me put Carol on the stand. Forget it. Without her, we're dead. We can't prove a thing to the town or the court.
I told you I don't want her dragged into this mess. It's final.
Please rise. First Court of Danton is now in session. The Honorable Judge Austin Hodges presiding. Be seated.
Is the defense ready?
Ready, Your Honor. Call Miss Amy Jackson.
Miss Amy Jackson. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name.
Amy Jackson.
Be seated.
Now, Miss Jackson, are you a resident of Danton?
Yes, sir. 153 East 4th Street.
Are you presently employed?
Yes, sir. I work at the Rosedale Ballroom.
In what capacity?
I'm a hostess.
I see. Now, Miss Jackson, will you please tell the court how you spent the evening of June 4th?
Sure. I was at the ballroom with Eddie Glynn. I remember I ordered lobster thermidor for dinner, and the boys put up an awful howl.
Which boys?
Eddie and Bill Corby and Tom Brooks. Let's see now. We were together from about 7 o'clock until maybe 2 o'clock in the morning.
Are you positive about that?
Absolutely.
No more questions.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like a brief recess.
Granted. Court will recess for 10 minutes.
What's the matter? Had enough? Or the idea of your brother ringing in a phony witness turn your stomach? Look, Carol, your father fought against this trial for two reasons. One, he hates everything about Fred Carnes. And two, he really believes Bill is innocent. If he knew the truth, I happen to think he'd be man enough to take it and live with it.
Look, Mr. Sloan, I love Fred. But I just can't get on the stand. When all this is over, I'll go away with him anywhere.
Before you start making any plans, come back into the court and watch a man being destroyed.
Isn't it true that you've lived a life of lies? Isn't it true this life of lies culminated in Korea? Isn't it true that you lied about this beating?
I didn't lie about it.
Isn't it true that you received this beating in a drunken brawl?
No.
No more questions. Does the prosecution wish to re-examine?
Your Honor, may the prosecution make a statement?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the office of the district attorney is charged with one all-consuming responsibility: to see that justice is done and the letter of the law upheld. With this in mind, and on the basis of certain sworn statements and charges, I undertook the prosecution of this case. However, after carefully considering all the testimony, after listening to the claims of the victim, I've come to the conclusion that the prosecution has been seduced by a series of lies, coincidences, and insidious emotional appeals. And I beg the court's forgiveness for having taken up its time. Because I'm now firmly convinced, beyond any doubt, that Fred Carnes has betrayed me as he's betrayed everybody else. That he's the liar this town knows him to be. That he's not to be trusted, never should have been trusted, and never will be trusted again.
That's right. Pour it on. Save your lousy skin. I'll make it easy for you. You're right. Everything you said is true. Nobody wanted me back. I was just itching to get even.
You've never been honest with me, yourself, or anybody else. You deserve everything you get.
That's right. I'm a dirty, no-good liar. I made it all up. I got slugged in a drunken brawl. Okay, pack me in a coffin and ship me out of town if that's what you want. Go ahead.
No, please. Please listen to me. He's lying now, but he was telling the truth before. I saw it happen. I was with him. I'm the girl who telephoned the police. I saw them beat him, the three of them. Ed, Glenn, Tom Brooks, my brother. I'm sorry, Dad.
Why'd you have to lie to me?
What's going on?
Ben Morris phoned and told me what happened at court. I figured the sooner we started packing, the better.
That's where you're wrong. Nobody's moving. Not us, not even Corby.
You think he'll take this lying down?
No, standing on his own 2 feet. Or he wasn't the last time I saw him when he came over and shook my hand.
Pete, I don't understand.
Very simple, honey. The town grew up today, that's all. The town grew up. Unwrap that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Barbara Stanley. It's my pleasure to make my first appearance on Ford Theater in a program entitled Sudden Silence. Now, without my disclosing to you the exact nature of our story, may I tell you that it is a highly dramatic story dealing with human emotions of a wife, a husband, and a child. I think you will enjoy it. Won't you please join us when Ford Theater next presents Sudden Silence?
Theater has been brought to you by Ford and the Ford dealers of your community, who invite you to come in and action test the new kind of Ford for 57.